The radiator in this little room shouldn't sound like a tank that's about to die. My name is Alexei Morozov. I drove a T-34 in the 3rd Battalion, 29th Tank Corps, 5th Guards Tank Army. At Prokhorovka, I was close enough to the wrecks to watch something walk over burning armor, as if it were just stones in a river. I thought I left it there, on that field of steel. Now it lives in the pipes. The radiator knocks and ticks behind the flaking white paint, metal expanding as the hot water moves. The nurse says the pipes are old. I listen to the rhythm, the humming, the faint hiss. Every few minutes there is one heavy, slow clank, like a boot on armor. Heel first, then toe, testing the plate. Someone upstairs drags a chair. Someone in the hallway coughs. The television throws gray light across the wallpaper with its yellow flowers. The newsman is talking about anniversaries again. The word Kursk comes out of his mouth, with clean teeth and good lighting, like a victory parade. On the table beside my bed is a small Model T-34 my grandson gave me when he still came to visit. The paint is chipped on the glacis. The barrel is a little bent. I keep telling myself I should glue it straight. I never do. On the left side of the turret, there's a thin black streak where plastic should be green. I've wiped it off 3 times with alcohol and a rag. It comes back every morning in the same place we once found the first footprint on real steel. I can smell metal in this room when the radiator starts up. Not rust, not clean workshop metal. Hot, oily, burnt. It gets into the back of my throat, same as the air inside the tank when fuel lines leaked and something outside was on fire. The nurse sprays air freshener and calls it imagination. She doesn't hear the step on the pipes, that slow, careful step that lands exactly where the engine deck would be. I lean forward and turn the sound down on the television. I leave the picture on. The screen flickers with old black and white footage. Tanks climbing low hills, men waving caps. Some editor has decided what victory looks like. They never show the wrecks for more than a heartbeat. They cut away before you see how fire really eats steel and what walks where the crews used to stand. In the reflection on the glass, over the image of advancing tanks, something tall and dark moves across the bottom edge. My heart knocks once in my chest. The radiator gives one answering clank from the wall behind my head. My fingers close around the edge of the table until my nails hurt. Nikolai used to laugh when I flinched at sounds in the hull. Back then, it was just water in the drums on the engine deck sloshing. When we hit a rut, he would thump the inside of the turret and shout, "Easy, Lyosha, the ghosts are on our side." He stopped saying that after Prokhorovka, when we watched a shape step onto a burning tank and not fall through. There is a small burn mark on the wooden frame of the window, near the bottom right corner. The nurse says someone once held a cigarette there when this room belonged to another old man. The shape is not round. It has 4 narrow toes and a heel, like a footprint, as if something very hot stepped there and paused for a moment. I do not tell her I have seen that shape before. Not on wood, not on a window. I first heard about what walks over burning armor in a village that does not exist anymore. We had parked our T-34 behind a barn to check the tracks. The July sun lay heavy on the thatched roofs. Dust sat in the air over the lane. Flies circled our faces, and the engine deck, drawn to the heat. Our tank still smelled of paint and factory oil. New machine, new crew. The big battle had not started yet. They said we were in the reserve line. They said a lot of things. The villagers watched us the way people watch a thunderstorm, half afraid, half grateful it is not directly above them. An old woman in a black headscarf came with a bucket of water and a loaf of bread. Her back was bent. Her eyes were sharp as bayonets. "Drink," she said. "You will need it. They will burn the fields again." Nikolai Sorokin, our commander, jumped down from the turret with his usual swagger. He was short, broad-shouldered, with a way of cracking sunflower seeds between his teeth in the middle of sentences. He took the bucket from her, drank, then handed it to me. "That's not very optimistic, babushka," he said. "We are here to stop them." She looked past him at the tank, at the number on the turret, at the fresh tracks cutting through her lane. They always say that, she said. Grisha Levin, my gunner, leaned out of the turret hatch, his curls sticking to his sweaty forehead, a cigarette dangling from his lip. He had a little silver cross on a chain tucked under his undershirt. He claimed it had belonged to his grandmother. Partymen would have scolded him. In the tank, no one cared. Who is they? He asked. Us or them? She wiped her hands on her apron. Her fingers were knotty and strong. The ones who think steel will save them, she said. First the Germans, then ours, then the whites, then the reds. Before that, the Tatars. Before that, other names. Steel burns the same. Blood smells the same. She stepped closer to the tank. I smelled earth and smoke on her. Do you know what walks when the fields are full of burning iron? She asked softly. Nikolai rolled his eyes at me. Here we go, he muttered under his breath. Sasha, our radio operator, slid down beside me, wiping grease from his fingers on a rag. He was thin, with a habit of tapping his boot heel 3 times before climbing into the tank. He always carried a small notebook in his breast pocket, where he wrote down frequencies, call signs, and, sometimes, lines from songs he pretended to have forgotten. Let her talk, he whispered. What walks? Grisha asked. She raised a shaking hand and pointed east, toward the invisible front line beyond the belt of trees and rolling wheat. He walks, she said. The one who cannot die, the one who hates cowards and loves fire, the one who walks on the roofs of the iron carts when they are burning, and listens at the holes where the men scream. He has been here since the first cannon stuck in the mud by the river. He will still be here when your tank is rust. Her eyes found mine. For a second I felt like a child caught with his hand in a drawer. You are the driver, she said. You will hear him first. In the hull, in the engine, in your teeth. Nikolai snorted. What's his name? This one. She spat into the dust. We do not say his name, she said. We call him the one who walks over fire, the iron walker, the black driver. He steps on the burning ones to see which ones breathe and which ones lie. If he walks over you and you move, he leaves you. If you lie still, he takes you. Grisha laughed, a little too loudly. Good, he said. Then we just keep moving. His cigarette ash snapped off and fell on the engine deck. I watched it burn on the green paint. It left a small black mark. I rubbed it away with my thumb. That night, parked in a tree line not far from that village, I lay half inside the hull above the engine, my head resting on a rolled jacket, listening to the metal tick as it cooled. Outside, the world smelled of warm earth and cut grass. Crickets buzzed. Somewhere a dog barked once and shut up. Inside the tank, there was another sound. It came up through the floor plates, through the bolts and weld seams. A slow, heavy rhythm, as if someone walked along the upper side. One step on the engine deck, one step on the turret, pausing. Another step. I held my breath, my mouth dried. Kalia, I whispered. You moving up there? Nikolai's snores came from the turret, slow and even. Grisha muttered in his sleep. Vitka, our loader, snored like a small truck, one hand always curled around the handle of the shell rack, as if afraid someone would steal his ammunition. The sound came again. The tiniest scrape, like hot metal touching paint. I reached up and hit the inside of the hull with my fist. Who was on the tank? I hissed. Sasha's face appeared in the turret ring, upside down, hair sticking up. Shut up, Lyosha, he muttered. You'll wake the whole forest. Someone's on the armor, I said. Listen. We both went still. Outside, the wind shifted in the branches. A leaf brushed the hull with a dry whisper. Inside, a drop of oil fell from somewhere and hit the floor with a soft tick. The heavy step did not come again. Sasha exhaled and shook his head. You let that old woman get into your guts, he said. Go to sleep. Big day tomorrow. He disappeared. His boots thumped twice on the turret floor. I waited a long time before closing my eyes. In the morning, when the sun pushed gray light into the tree line, we found 4 black marks on the green paint of the engine deck. They were narrow, elongated, with a clear curve at the front, like toes, and a heel. The paint blistered under them, as if something very hot had stood there for a long second. Vitka ran a finger over one. Someone was smoking like a chimney, he said, trying to sound casual. The metal under his fingertip was still faintly warm. Kursk, in July of 1943, did not feel like the largest anything. It felt like dust, and waiting, and too many tanks in too little space. We knew the names on the maps: Belgorod, Oboy, and Prokhorovka. We knew the German units coming at us: Grossdeutschland, Leibstandart, Das Reich, Totenkopf. We knew the words tiger and panther, and said them the way you talk about wolves in a village that only owns dogs. My world was smaller than the map. It was the driver's seat of a T-34, the levers under my hands, the pedals under my boots, the little slit of vision through the front plate. It was the smell of diesel, sweat, cordite, canvas, and soup hurrying through the mess line before a briefing. We formed up in a shallow hollow behind a low ridge. Tank after tank, green holes, white numbers, red stars, stretching left and right until the line disappeared in heat haze. Infantry rode on the back decks, feet dangling. The sky was too big. The air trembled. Nikolai stood in the hatch, headset on, goggles up on his helmet, chewing sunflower seeds. He spat the husks into an empty shell casing. He always did that before missions. Said it brought luck. I think he just needed something to do with his mouth. Sasha fiddled with the radio dials, muttering call signs. Vitka checked the straps on the shells. Grisha stroked the barrel of the 76 like it was a horse. "Look at this," Vitka said quietly. "You see, on the hull of the tank next to us, 3 marks scorched the paint near the turret ring. Not round, not straight, curved at one end. One of the crew was rubbing at them with a rag. The marks did not fade. Must be from yesterday's fire," Nikolai said. "They towed that one back from the line, remember? The Germans tried to cook it with shells. The marks were too regular for random fire. 3 in a row, the same shape. The driver of that tank, a boy with ears that stuck out under his helmet, looked across at me. 'You hear anything last night?' he asked. 'Just you snoring,' I said. He did not smile. Before we rolled out, a political officer climbed onto a crate and shouted some words about the motherland and the party and the historic moment. People cheered because it is easier to cheer than not in front of a man with a pistol on his belt. While he spoke, I saw movement on the ridge. The sun was behind it, turning the grass into a bright halo. A line of knocked-out tanks from the day before lay up there, silhouettes against the light. Some were ours, some were theirs. Smoke still rose from one turret, a thin, dark exhale. Between 2 of those burned-out hulls, something tall moved. A figure, too straight to be a wounded man, too slow to be a runner. It walked along the row of wrecks, black against the brightness, stepping from one steel carcass to the next without pause, as if the gaps between them did not exist. It stopped on top of one of ours, a T-34 that had lost its turret, just a naked ring of metal and a gaping hatch. The figure paused, then crouched, long arms resting on its knees, bending its head as if listening. Then it straightened and walked on. I blinked. The political officer's voice rose. People shouted "Ura!" The figure was gone. Grisha nudged my shoulder with his boot. "You see that?" he asked. "I saw it," I said. "You think that was a man?" he asked. I did not answer. The order came down the radio net in clipped words. "Advance." I dropped into my seat. The hatch clanged shut above me. My world shrank to instruments and the narrow view ahead. The engine roared as I hit the starter. The whole hull shook. Diesel fumes rushed into my nose. Vitka swung into his place. Grisha settled at the sight. Sasha's voice murmured into the headset, repeating coordinates. "Forward," Nikolai said. "Nice and steady. Lyosha, we don't want to be first. We don't want to be last. Just in the middle, like good cowards." "I thought we were heroes," I muttered. "Heroes are just cowards pointing the right way," he said. "Drive." I let the clutch out. The tank lurched. The grass flattened under us. We climbed toward the ridge, toward the line of wrecks, toward whatever waited beyond. The first shells fell short. You feel artillery in your belly before you hear it. The ground swells. Your teeth click. Then the noise hits. A flat, hammering boom that seems to come from everywhere at once. "Keep going," Nikolai said. His voice was higher than usual. The crest came up fast. For a second, all I could see through the slit was blue sky and a single crow flapping hard to get out of the way of history. Then we were on the ridge. The world ahead was fire. German tanks moved below us, gray holes, straight lines, turrets like square jaws, tigers, big and boxy, panthers, lower and more graceful, assault guns, squat beasts, dug in behind mounds of earth. Muzzle flashes strobed along their line. Smoke hung low over the wheat fields. Our tanks topped the ridge, one after another. The air filled with the shriek of incoming shells, the clang of hits, the crack of our own guns firing. Somewhere to the left, a tank exploded. Turret lifted clean off like a hat, spinning in the air before slamming back into the dirt. Down the slope, Lyosha Nikolai shouted, "Zigzag. Don't make it easy." I worked the levers. Left track slows, right track grabs. We slew right, then back, sliding on the dry earth as we descend. The hole shudders with every bump. Dirt flies up, rattling on the front plate. Grisha curses into his sight. "Hold her steady, damn it," he yells. "Tell the Germans to stop shooting while we make it comfortable," I snap. A shell slams into the ground just ahead of us. The blast lifts the nose of the tank. For a heartbeat we hang, weightless, then crash down. My head hits the periscope hard enough to spark light in my vision. Left, left, Nikolai barks. That tiger is looking right at us. I see it for a moment as we jolt over a tractor furrow. Thick armor, long barrel, the kind of machine people make when they think nothing can stop them. Our gun thunders. The recoil jolts through the hull. Grisha shouts he's hit something. Sasha's voice is a stream of numbers and curses. We plunge into smoke. The inside of the tank fills with the smell of burnt powder and hot metal. I taste copper. My shirt sticks to my back. Another impact. This one not as loud. A sharp clang on the left side. The hole rings like a bell. Paint dust falls from the seams in a fine, green snow. That one bounced, Vitka says, half laughing. "Don't collect too many souvenirs," Nikolai says. "They'll send you the bill." We break out of the smoke near a small rise. Wheat, trampled and burning, stretches in front of us. A knocked-out T-34 lies to our right, black smoke pouring from its hatches. Two figures crawl away from it, clothes on fire, rolling in the dirt. Something moves on its turret. A long, dark shape steps lightly onto the burning armor. Flames curl around its ankles and leave no mark. Its head tilts as if listening to the men on the ground. One of them reaches up toward it, fingers blackening, mouth open wide. The shape stands still. Then it shifts its weight, as if choosing. "Do you see that?" I whisper. "See what?" Nikolai snaps, eyes front, driver. The shell that hits that wrecked T-34 comes from somewhere off to our flank. I do not see the impact. I only see the sudden push of the blast, the way the whole hull jumps, the way the flaming men vanish in a tide of dirt and fire. The shape stays on the turret ring, untouched. Then we are past it, the wreck sliding out of my narrow field of view. The slope takes us down into another dip. A German assault gun looms ahead, half hidden in a hedgerow. "Target right, 200. Nikolai yells. "Hit that bastard." The tank is too slow. We are too fast. The ground is wrong. Everything happens at once. Grisha shouts. He has it. Vitka rams a shell into the breach. The gun barks. The shot goes high, screaming over the assault gun's roof. Their gun fires. The impact hits us low, front left. There is no sound at first. Only the instant, violent movement as the tank's nose digs into the earth, and the whole hull jumps sideways. My head slams into the periscope again. Light explodes in my skull. "Left track's gone," I shout, tasting blood. We've lost the track. The tanks lose. We spin toward a line of burning wrecks at the edge of the wheat field. Grinding, scraping, metal screaming against metal. Reverse, Nikolai yells. I can't. I yank the levers. They move, but the response is wrong, sluggish. We grind to a stop half in, half out of a shallow depression where other tanks have died. The smell of dust and burning oil is a blanket over everything. Out. Vitka's voice is small. Do we bail? Stay. Nikolai snaps. We're not lit yet. They're shooting at the runners. Shells whistle overhead. Another T-34 to our right bursts into flame. Its turret hatch flies open. A man hauls himself halfway out and then disappears in a sheet of smoke. Heat presses against the front plate. My teeth chatter, not from cold. Fire in the engine compartment, Sasha says quietly. I smell it. I smell it too. A sweet, heavy, awful smell, oil and insulation, and the start of something worse. We have to get out, Vitka says. His hands are on the loader's hatch wheel. If you open that now, they'll rake us with machine guns, Nikolai says. Wait for smoke cover. Just a little. The world outside goes very quiet. The bangs and booms of the battle fade, as if someone has stuffed wool in my ears. My own breath sounds loud. My heartbeat ticks in my throat. On the hull, above my head, I hear it. Heel, toe. The faint creak of weight on metal that is already bending under heat. Step, pause. Step. The sound moves from the front plate, up over the driver's hatch, along the turret ring. The steel above me groans softly. Who is on the tank? I whisper. My lips barely move. Nikolai does not answer. Grisha does not answer. Vitka's breathing is fast and shallow. Is that one of our boys sheltering? Sasha tries. His voice breaks. The sound stops directly above me, right over my head. The metal there feels suddenly heavier. The air in the tank thickens, hot and stagnant. A smell leaks through the seams. Not smoke, not oil. Something sharp and metallic, like overheated coins in wet soil, like blood spilled on an anvil left in the sun. I close my eyes. The floor under my boots vibrates, not from the engine, from the weight above. A slow scrape, as if something crouches, knees bending, hands touching the hull. My teeth hurt. Grisha swears in a whisper. The sound of the battlefield rushes back all at once. Artillery, machine guns, screams. Someone shouting orders on the radio, words blurring together. Now, Nikolai yells. Out. Go. Go. The hatch wheel above me jerks. Vitka shoves it. Light spills in, white and full of smoke. Driver, up, he shouts. I scramble from my seat, knees hitting metal, hands slipping on hot steel. I slam my shoulder into the underside of the hatch ring. For a second, I am stuck, half in, half out, ribs crushed between the edge of the armor and the hatch. The world above is a white glare. Something moves across the opening. Not a man, not a shadow. A dark shape, tall, thin, without clear edges, passing over the hatch like a cloud over the sun. The temperature drops for a heartbeat. My skin prickles. A foot, if you can call it that, steps over the rim. Narrow, long. The metal under it hisses. 4 curved toes, each leaving a line of blistered paint. It does not step on my fingers. It does not step on my face. It lands beside me on the turret, light as if there is no weight at all. I smell that hot coin stench again, stronger now, mixed with something like damp earth that has not seen air in a long time. Lyosha Nikolai's hand closes on the front of my jacket and yanks. I tumble out of the hatch onto the hull. Heat hits the soles of my boots. The paint smokes under my feet. For a moment, everything slows. I see the battlefield around us in slices. A tiger in the distance, turret swung to our right, smoke drifting from its barrel. A burning T-34 10 meters away, its tracks still turning slowly in the air, upside down, like a beetle dying. A man running without his helmet, hair scorched, mouth open in a sound I cannot hear. Our own engine deck, paint bubbling, a thin line of flame beginning around the exhaust. And on the row of wrecks we have slithered into, something tall and narrow walking. It moves along the line of burning hulls, stepping from one to the next with the certainty of someone walking on stones across a river. Fire curls around its legs. It leaves no ashes. Where its feet land, the metal glows red, then blackens into four-toed prints. It reaches a tiger that burns from the inside, hatches shut. It bends, long spine curving. It lays one hand on the turret, long fingers splayed. For a moment, the fire inside slows, as if held in, then bursts out of the barrel in a thick, dark jet. The shape straightens and turns its head. There is no face. There is the idea of a face. Lines where eyes should be. A slit where a mouth might open. All of it made of shifting darkness, like smoke forced into the outline of a man. It looks at me. It looks down at our tank. At Nikolai climbing from the turret. At Vitka, hauling himself out after him, mouth moving in a prayer he would never admit to. At Sasha still inside, wrestling with the radio, refusing to abandon his wires, because he always said someone had to hear them. The shape steps closer. Jump. Nikolai shouts. Down. Off the hull. Move. I jump. The drop is not far in distance. It feels like falling from a building. My knees slam into the dirt. Heat washes over my back. A shell explodes somewhere to my left, flattening the wheat. I roll, coughing. The air is full of smoke and dust, and the deadly, stupid buzz of ricochets. Behind me, our tank catches. The smell of burning fuel rushes out, heavy and greasy. Flames lick the sides. The interior, soaked with oil and sweat and cloth, goes fast. Nikolai hits the ground beside me, rolls, comes up in a crouch, grabbing my arm. Where are the others? He yells into my ear. Vitka lands badly. I hear a crack that is more bone than steel. He screams once, short and sharp, and then just lies there, leg bent at a wrong angle, helmet rolled away. There is no sign of Sasha. The radio crackles inside the burning tank. The voice on the other end shouts our call sign, words melting in static. On the turret, above the flames, the shape stands. Its feet are planted on the armor, one on the commander's hatch, one on the gun mantlet. The metal under it glows. Blisters form and pop. It does not sink. It does not burn. Its head tilts, listening. For a second, the screaming and shooting and roaring of the battle fades around me. All I can hear is the soft tick of expanding metal and the murmur of the voice on the radio, trapped in the fire. The shape lifts one foot. It brings it down slowly, deliberately, on the center of the turret, right where Sasha's seat is. The steel dents inward. The radio shrieks once and goes silent. The flames leap higher, as if something inside has given way. Get him? I scramble toward the hull. The heat pushes me back. My eyebrows curl. My jacket smokes. Nikolai grabs me around the chest and hauls me away. He's gone. He shouts into my ear. He's gone, Lyosha. I kick and swear and swing at him with my fists. He does not let go. His fingers dig into my ribs. Behind us, the tank turns into a full torch. The paint peels. The rubber on the road wheels melts. The ammunition cooks off in sharp, angry pops. The shape walks away. It steps from our burning hull to the next, and the next, and the next. Each time its foot lands, the fire changes. Sometimes it flares. Sometimes it dies down. Sometimes it holds, as if waiting for breath. It moves along the line, across German and Soviet steel alike, indifferent to stars or crosses. I see other men on the ground, crawling, running, pressed to the earth. I do not know if they see it too. Some stare in the same direction, mouths open. The battle does not stop for legends. Another wave of our tanks crests the ridge. Stuka sirens wail somewhere far off. Machine gun fire rips the air above our heads. Move, Nikolai shouts. We have to get out of this roasting pan. We drag Vitka between us, his broken leg trailing, his face gray. He bites his lips so hard blood runs down his chin. He never lets himself scream more than that one sound. We crawl into a shallow ditch where some infantry have dug in. A young lieutenant with a bandage around his head stares at us, eyes too wide in his dirty face. Tank it, he asks. I nod. Sit, he says. Wait until they decide who lives. It is not clear if he means the Germans, the artillery, the general staff, or something else. The day claws forward in jerks. We are shelled in the ditch. Once, a tiger rolls close enough that its tracks rattle the earth under our bellies. It does not see us, or it does and does not care. By afternoon, the sky is a brown lid over the battlefield. Mud and ash have mixed with the air. Every breath tastes like someone else's engine. Medical orderlies find us eventually. They load Vitka onto a stretcher. His hands clutch at the air. My shells, he mutters. Don't mix them up. He on the left, armor piercing on the right. You're off the gun for now, comrade, one of the orderlies says. We limp back toward, the rear ears ringing, mouths dry, the shape of our burning tank stamped on the inside of our eyelids. When I look back over my shoulder, I see the line of wrecks again. The sun is low. The fires burn more slowly now, sullen. Smoke hangs in layers. Through it, on the black holes, I see faint red lines. Four-toed footprints, glowing as if the metal remembers where it has been stepped on. In the field hospital tent, that night, the story moves faster than infection. Men speak in low voices between groans and coughs. Did you see it? Something walking. On the tigers? On ours. Counted us. I swear it counted us. A German device. Some kind of flamethrower suit. No. My cousin told me about it. From the last war. Civil War. They said in the steppe near Voronezh. A man made of smoke walked on the cannons after the battle, looking for the ones who pretended to be dead. If he stepped on you and you held your breath, you lived. That's a children's tale. So is this war. In the next cot, a tanker with bandaged hands, skin gone where gloves once were, whispers into the dark. It stepped over my hatch, he says. I heard it, on the roof. It was light, like a man with no weight. It stopped. The fire was already in the hall. I lay very still. I wanted to scream. I didn't. It moved on. My driver tried to climb out. It stepped on his back. I smelled him cook before the flames reached him. He turns his head toward me. I didn't help him, he says. I could have pushed him out. I didn't move. I was so afraid it would come back. His breath smells of medicine and fear. Nikolai sits on a crate outside the tent, smoking one cigarette after another, the ash falling onto his boots. He does not crack seeds. His fingers shake too much. Superstition, he says, when I tell him what the burned tanker said. Battlefield hysteria. He stares past me at the line of ambulance trucks. You saw it too, I say. He does not answer. In the days that follow, we get another tank. The factories send more steel to replace the ones that burned. Men arrive from other units, from training centers, from nowhere. Names are written on lists. Names are crossed off. Vitka disappears into a hospital further back. We never see him again. Some say his leg turned bad. Some say he made it home. Some say he was on another tank at the end of the summer and simply did not come back one day. His mess tin stays in our kit for a long time before someone else takes it without asking. Sasha's name goes onto a board. Missing. Presumed dead in action. The political officer reads the list without looking at our faces. At night, when the engines cool, I hear footsteps on metal. Sometimes it is just a mechanic walking along the hulls, checking something. Sometimes it is not. On a moonless night, parked in a shallow wood, I wake to the sound of the tank's hull ticking. The air inside is thick and stale. Grisha snores softly, his mouth open. Nikolai's silhouette fills the turret ring, head bowed. The sound comes again. Heel, toe, slow, measured. Not like a man walking carelessly, like someone counting. I ease myself up. My hands brush the cold steel. I put my ear to the inside of the hull. The footsteps move along the line of tanks. I can hear them pass from one to the next. Sometimes they pause. Sometimes they skip one. There is a pattern. I cannot find it. Outside, someone laughs quietly. A nervous little burst. It is cut off. In the morning, we find new marks on the paint. Blackened shapes, 4 to a foot, curved at one end, burned down through primer into metal. They are on some tanks and not others. They never appear on the same place twice. Once, there is a set across our turret roof, from the commander's hatch to the gun. Nikolai runs his hand over them, lips tight. Maybe the babushka was right, Grisha says. Maybe she made it up to scare little boys like you, Nikolai says. It worked. He taps one of the prints with his knuckles. If a legend wants to walk on my tank, it can line up and ask properly, he says. Until then, we keep moving. That's all. But he starts carrying a small icon in his breast pocket after that. He thinks I do not see him kiss it before climbs into the turret. I see everything from my seat. The battle moves. We push. They push. Maps shift lines in staff tents, while men burn in fields. The name Prokhorovka becomes something spoken in mess lines and at command posts. No one calls it victory the day we are there. They call it surviving until the next dawn. We lose 3 more tanks in our battalion to fire in the next week. Each time, someone says they heard something on the hull before the shell hit. Each time, someone else says they heard nothing but their own heart. Each time, after the fires are out and the wreck's cool enough to touch, someone finds black footprints on the armor, burned deep, like scars. Once, we are sent forward after the front line shifts to help clear wrecks from a field so supply trucks can pass. It is quiet that day. The guns are elsewhere. Flies own the air. We walk among carcasses of steel. A tiger lay on its side, turret half buried. Its barrel points at the sky in accusation. The black cross on its flank is peeled and blistered. The smell of cooked metal and long rotten flesh hangs around it. On the underside of its hull, where no man could stand, while the tank was upright, there are prints, 4 narrow toes and a heel, overlapping in places, like someone paced under there for a long time. The metal under each is warped, sagging inward. Maybe they flipped it with a crane, one of the sappers says. His voice trembles. Maybe, I say. My hand shakes when I reach out to touch one of the prints. The metal is cold now. It feels wrong under my fingertips, like touching skin over bone that is not lined up properly. At night, back in the bivouac, men drink thin vodka and tell their own versions of the story. In my village, they called him Ognevoy, Pastuk, the fire shepherd, one says. He walked ahead of the armies. If he stepped on your roof, your house would burn when the soldiers came. My grandfather said there was a man during the Russo-Japanese War who walked on the iron decks of ships while they were on fire. Another says. He did not sink. The sailors who followed him into the water lived. The ones who stayed on the ship died. My aunt swore she saw a tall man during the Civil War walk over the burning locomotives. After a train was shelled, a third says, he stepped on each wagon. The ones he did not step on stayed empty. The ones he did step on, they found bodies inside later. People who had been hiding, too afraid to run. The stories blur and overlap. Different wars, same shape. He's on our side, someone says. He steps on the fascists. He steps on everyone, someone else says. Didn't you hear? He walked on Sidorov's tank. Sidorov was ours. He spares the ones who move, a third insists. You just have to stay alive until he gets off the roof. No one mentions the drivers who could not get out. The gunners whose hatches jammed. The radio operators whose voices went silent, mid-word. Nikolai listens, cigarette between his fingers, eyes half closed. You can tell whatever fairy tales you want, he says when the talk gets too loud. Just be in your tanks before dawn. The Germans don't care what stories you believe. He throws his cigarette into the fire. That night, I dream of walking on our own hull. Each step I take leaves a mark that glows from inside the steel. I hear Sasha's voice under my feet, repeating call signs. I try to step lightly. My feet sink through the armor. I wake with my nails dug into my palms. The war moves us west. The Germans pull back. We drive through villages that have stories older than any flag. People stand in their doorways and watch us pass. Some make the sign of the cross. Some turn away. In one such village, our tank breaks down. Something in the gearbox complains. We pull in beside a ruined church while the mechanics argue under the hull. Inside the roofless church, icons stare down from soot-stained walls. Their faces are blurred from heat. Someone has painted over some of them. Others are scratched, eyes gouged. An old priest in a dirty cassock sits on a fallen beam, watching the mechanics the way a man watches a storm. "You have iron on your boots," he says when I walk past him. I look down automatically. My boots are caked with mud and oil. "No, not that kind," he says. "The other kind." He points at our tank. "You have been under him," he says. Under his feet. I sit on the beam beside him. My knees creak more now. "You know about him?" I ask. He nods. "He was here before me," he says. "Before this church. Before the last one. Before there was a church at all. In the old songs, he walked on the shields of warriors to see which ones would rise to fight again. In the later stories, he walked on the roofs of armored trains. Now he walks on you. Why? I ask. The word comes out before I can stop it. He shrugs. That is his way, he says. Iron calls to him. Fire feeds him. He tests. He weighs. Maybe he is an angel that forgot how to look up. Maybe he is a devil who liked his work too much. Maybe he is just what happens when men pile too much metal in one place and set it on fire. He looks at my hands. Did he step on you? He asks. On the hatch, I say. Once. And you moved, he asks. I was pulled, I say. By my commander. He nods. That counts, he says. He reaches into a pocket and takes out a small, blackened piece of metal. It looks like part of a horseshoe, bent and burned. 4 small notches cut its edge. I took this from the armor of a tank that burned for 3 days, he says. You can have it if you want. Or you can leave it here. Either way, he will find you when he needs to walk. I do not take the metal. He laughs without sound. You are wiser than the last one, he says. The mechanics fix whatever was wrong. We leave the village. The church disappears in the dust behind us. Years later, I am back in that region with our unit, passing through on the way to somewhere else. The church is gone. A hole in the ground is all that remains, filled with water and rusting iron beams. Someone built a warehouse on the hill. The air still smells faintly of old smoke. After the war, people say Kursk was where we broke them, where we stopped their advance for good. They show maps and arrows. They print numbers. Sons and grandsons nod and drink and tell each other what their grandfathers did. I rarely talk about the part where something that was not ours and not theirs walked over steel that melted under its feet. In this room, now with the radiator ticking and the television running footage of tanks and seminar discussions, the smell of hot metal is back. The nurse has gone for the night. The hallway outside is dim. Someone down the hall is moaning in his sleep. I take the little plastic T-34 from the table and turn it over in my hands. On the underside of the hull, where my grandson never painted because he was in a hurry, there are 4 black marks, narrow, curved at one end, with a small smear where plastic bubbled. I put my thumb on one. The plastic is warm. The pipes knock in the wall, heel, toe. Somewhere high above this cheap building, on the roof with its tar and gravel and satellite dishes, something walks. I know that rhythm. I have known it for more than half a century. Step, pause, step. It crosses from one side of the room to the other, overhead. It stops above my bed. The radiator groans. The sound changes, from water moving to metal bending. The air thickens. My lungs feel too small. I look at the window. On the glass, reflected in the dull light of the television, I see a tall, narrow shadow standing where the wall meets the ceiling. No edges, no face, just the suggestion of shoulders, of a head turned slightly, listening. I hear my name, not from outside, from inside the walls, from inside the pipes, from inside the armor of my bones. Alexei, it says. The voice is like wind blowing through hollow steel. "Driver." My hand tightens on the plastic tank. "I never left him," I whisper. "I tried to go back. For Sasha. For the others." The thing does not answer. It does not need my words. It takes one step. The ceiling does not creak. The bed does. The mattress dips as if someone heavy has sat on the edge, then stood again. Footprints appear on the floor near the radiator. They burn up through the cheap linoleum, four-toed black and smoking, one after another, leading toward the table where the model tank stood a moment ago. The smell of hot coins and earth fills the room. My heart stutters. The plastic tank lifts from my hand without my fingers opening. It rises, weightless, to hover at chest height. For a second, it hangs there, tiny hull and bent barrel trembling. Then something unseen steps on it. The model collapses. Wheels snap. The turret cracks. Melted plastic drips on my blanket, burning small, round holes. I flinch. A print appears on the blanket near my knee, black and smoking. The heat does not reach my skin. Not yet. In the wall, the pipes thump. Down the hall, a buzzer goes off. Someone calls for a nurse. Footsteps run. Doors open and close. The world keeps its routines. Here, in this room, something bends. I feel it lean over me, tall and thin, presence pressing down without weight. I remember the old woman by the barn, the way she pointed at me and said, "You will hear him first." I remember the priest in the ruined church, saying he will find you. I taste dust and diesel and blood. The voice comes again, close to my ear now. "There are still fires," it whispers. "Still iron. Still men who think they can lie still, and fools who try to move." I see flashes. Not from the television, but from somewhere behind my eyes. Tanks burning in places I never fought. Other wars, other helmets, other flags, the same black marks on armor. My fingers curl into the blanket. The print nearest my hand pulses, growing brighter, then dimmer, like a heartbeat. He is not here just for me. He never is. He walks circuits bigger than my life. I am just a stop on his way. He takes another step. The footprint appears on the edge of the mattress, close to my hip. The fabric blackens. The springs groan. The heat licks my side, then pulls back. He pauses. I do not move. My lungs burn to breathe faster. My legs want to jerk away. Every muscle in my body vibrates with the memory of that day on the hull, when I was half in the hatch and Nikolai's hand pulled me out. No one can pull me now. The print on the mattress fades. The heat drains back into the air. The steps move on. Across the bed, across the table, across the radiator, up the wall, into the ceiling. Heel, toe, fading. I hear other beds creak in other rooms. Other men mutter in their sleep. Somewhere above, on the roof, gravel shifts. He is still walking. He walks as long as there is burning armor anywhere on Earth. As long as men pour fuel into steel and send it to meet other steel. The model tank on my blanket is a twisted lump now, cooled into a new shape. It smells like childhood melted into something that never belonged to children in the first place. On the television, they are showing footage from some newer war. Sand instead of wheat fields, different uniforms, the same plumes of smoke. They say the tanks are better now, stronger armor, better sights. The camera lingers on a wreck for a moment longer than the editors usually allow. Just long enough for me to see 4 dark marks on the upper hull, near the turret ring. The image jitters, then cuts away to a studio. The presenter smiles. He talks about strategy. I turn the sound up. The radiator clicks. The pipes hum. "If you keep watching," I say into the empty room, my voice thin. "I can tell you about the day Soviet tank crews near Kursk saw something walking over burning armor. I can tell you what it sounds like when it steps on your hatch. I can tell you what it leaves behind." The screen reflects my face, lines carved by time and noise and smoke. Behind my head, in the reflection, for a heartbeat, a taller shadow looms. "If you want stories that do not end when the firing stops," I add softly, "stay. There are more." I reach for the remote with a hand that shakes only a little. For Sasha Morozov, radio operator, 3rd Battalion, 29th Tank Corps, 5th Guards Tank Army, killed in action near Prokhorovka, July 1943, I say. Then I turn the television off.